It's that time again. It's time for another Saturday night special where we talk about everything rockhounding related. Well, let's just, I'd like to jump into this week's episode with a little bit of a story, okay? So here's the thing. I am just now starting to kind of comprehend and wrap my mind around some rock-related things. This whole world of rockhounding, mineral collecting, geology. I'm just kind of like now, like I feel like I'm at the precipice of it. You know, I'm just at I'm peeking over the edge. I'm on my tippy toes, looking over the top of the fence at this thing now. You know, and we've kind of been at it for a little bit. One thing that this kind of brought this to mind, right? Somebody left a comment on an old Instagram post of mine back from the very beginning of 2017. One of our first real rockhounding trips. This is before we were doing YouTube and before all of that. And it kind of really brought back some memories of kind of the starting point, you know? And that trip was out by Tillamook State Forest, out there in Oregon. Now, the thing is, we had no clue what we were doing, right? We had no clue whatsoever what in the world we were really looking for. We kind of knew, kind of didn't know. What you're looking at here, let's see if we can get this. It's going to be hard. We might throw some photos in, but we have some augite. We have augite crystals that kind of erode out of a bank there. This was the material from one of our very first rockhounding adventures. And man, it feels like a lifetime ago. It's interesting just to kind of look at it and be like, that was the first time we ever drove out into the middle of nowhere following some random directions. And we got lost. We were wandering all around. Eventually found the actual collection site and got these augite crystals. And I would love, more than anything, to go back there. And we're going to make that happen in the future. Now, lately, I've been getting more and more into the zeolites, right? Been getting into these things, learning, and it's kind of funny, right? One of the locations that we went to back in, was it the end of 2016, was a zeolite location. Now, we went there not really having an understanding of what tools we needed, anything. I mean, if you go back into 2016, right, there's like no videos on the subject of rockhounding, nothing in depth like we have now. Like, nobody was massively digesting all of this information and making like small little videos to try to explain stuff away. There is quite the curve. I mean, you had find other people and books, and that. There was Mindat. Mindat was there for sure. Mindat plays a little bit of a role in the story I'm about to tell you. So we went to Goble, Oregon, right? So if you're looking at a map, it is directly across from the Longview Kaiser area in Washington on the Oregon side of the Columbia River. We were at Neer Road, Neer Road, looking for zeolites. And I don't even know if I have any of that material. We probably ditched it because we were like, what the heck is this stuff? We have no clue. Fast forward a little bit. We were at the Rice Museum out in Hillsboro, Oregon, and saw some photos of people collecting out at Neer Road. And I was like, oh, zeolites. We were just out there. That's cool. Well, now I finally feel like I have an understanding of zeolites. And you look at some photos here. I feel like I'm going full circle on this thing because I'm learning about zeolites now. I'm learning how important the material was that came out from that near road cut. And it's heavily talked about in this book. And you can see in these historical photos, just like, it's very cool to look back at like photos from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s of people rockhounding at locations. That material that was collected out there, that was in Rudy's collection, is now at the Rice Museum. I mean, it's just, I feel like I'm kind of like, the blinders are being lifted off a little bit, you know? And I kind of started to go down this rabbit hole a little bit because in the past week, my buddy Matt, he sent something. He sent this, I don't know if you recall, and he was like, zeolite, question mark? And it is most definitely a zeolite. And what we have is Chabazite, and we have a simple penetration twin, all right? You see the photo right here. Very cool. There's actually a thread on Mindat, I think. I didn't fully get into it, of people being like, Chabazite or Chabazite, and going into that. So don't hold my feet to the fire on that one, everybody. But very cool to see. Very cool. Lovely addition to the collection. We're going to go back there. We're going to go back to the spots that we went to at the very beginning, revisit them with our less fresh eyes, and it will be a blast. There will definitely be a future Northwest Oregon, Southwest Washington trip. Speaking of going and taking trips, I wanted to just talk about something real quick, so bear with me, right? This thing, right? My safety nerd vest, this thing, right? The people on the Rockhound podcast mentioned, oh, Jared and Sarah wearing their vests when we do road cuts. Now, I have a very good reason for this. Okay, obviously, hunting season, right? You can throw this thing on and not get blasted. But I'm not concerned about my safety when we wear these and we're out on road cuts. Generally speaking, people don't just fly off the road and smush you. You would see a lot more cars smashed up on the side of the road. But what these do is they make you look like an authority, all right? So one thing that I've found is when you start hitting road cuts, right? What'll happen is people will pull over and ask you if you need help. And I think that is the dangerous part, right? Like, it's one thing to pull over and go look at a road cut and, some cars maybe drive by. They're not going to like fly up on the embankment and kill you, but people will slow down in the lane. People will kind of like half pull over and not get fully off the road and be like, oh, you need help. Like they think your car broke down, something like that. Somebody's going to rear end that person, and that's going to be the accident because they're still in the path of traffic. So what these do is they make it look like you should be there, or like you have an intention, a goal, And obviously, I mean, if you're going to be out tromping around, I mean, why not have something that has like a bunch of a bunch of good pockets? Having worn these types of things for construction, the price difference between a really junky, cruddy safety vest and one that's like nice and a little stretch to it and breathable with the good pockets is not much money, right? Like they're very closely priced. So, treat yourself. Just wanted to say that on the subject. We do break them out, and that's part of it. We do have a little bit more mail this week, which is always nice. Getting to the point out here where I don't know, these are little, may not be able to rock the gloves. Sorry for having to look at my hands here, but we have some lovely little selenite crystals. Look at that. Another thing that we might have to get some photos of. Those desert roses. Very cool. So these did not come from Utah, which I know people generally, I think, associate a lot of selenite crystals like this with Utah, but these are from the Great Salt Plain, which is in, I believe it's in the Midwest. Is that Oklahoma? Well, Andy, thank you, Andy, for these. These are very lovely. And we'll get some nice photos of those and throw them in the video. I sent some little ones. I got to figure out how to have these out here because I'm worried that they're just gonna break. They might be a jar item, you know, kind of really protect them. So this past week, the Ponderosa campground out by Nephi, Utah, going for that banded calcite. What a lovely spot. We're going back there. Okay, that's a given, you know. Now that I know what material I really want and what is worth keeping, because we did pick up a couple of rocks that are not too great. We gave it a little sneak peek and a cut and all that stuff, but here's this one, and I polished it. You can see that right there. So it takes a great polish, and you can see how these bands really run through and into the material. I did pick up some where they're not really that much in the way of visible banding exactly, and you know, they're neat, but like it's not like that. You're not like, wow, you know. And the polishing on it, like obviously we got like some pitting and stuff. It's not super nice in here. I mean, I don't have any experience with like the fillers, like putting epoxy, and then even still, I could only really get like kind of I guess a more matte finish. I mean, you can kind of see some of the flaws, I think, in the material, but some polish is better than no polish, right? Like that's how a good way of looking at it. I did polish up a couple of other ones, and similarly, right? We can see here with that banding that you can see on the exterior, right? That runs into the rock, makes for good material. This one I was a little skeptical of. I was like, I don't know. It's kind of cruddy on weathered out on the inside or on the outside, but yeah, I mean, like that, I think that looks good. Yeah. Anyways, of course, that was a super fun trip, and we got plenty of more Utah videos to come. Going back to the whole, like, you know, zeolite and all that stuff, man, starting out really the resources, you had dated rockhounding guidebooks, which there's still plenty of those out there, and Mindat, and like, we just had no clue about the zeolite world and Mindat and all of that. I'm pumped to be able to go back there and hit the old spots, you know. Yeah, summer 2020. It's hard to say. Next summer will be excellent. Summer 2022. So, well, this coming week we will be heading out and picking up some agates. It will be a lot of fun. I think you'll like it. So we'll be getting some little tiny agates, just like this guy right here, and it should be a blast. So definitely stay tuned for that. I appreciate you guys for coming by, hanging out with me here on the channel. It is, as I film this, the morning of the 30th of October, Saturday, and the Northern Lights are making their dip down into northern Washington. So we're going to go try to see those. We're not exactly nighttime folk, so we're going to have to go find a place to camp. We're going to have to wake up in the middle of the night, and it should be cold. Mid-20s, low 20s. Anyways, wish us luck. I'll try to take some photos if I can. Thank you for the rocks, Andy. I very appreciate it. It's always nice to be able to see specimens from around the country. All right, y'all. You guys take care, and I will catch you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching my entire video. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel and you would like to support the work that I'm doing even further, you can do so by becoming a channel member down below by just hitting the join button. Doing so will give you access to a growing library of videos and posts, and it really goes a long way in supporting the channel. So thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate each and every one of you.